The political epicenter of the Islamic Republic of Iran has undergone one of the most dramatic and consequential transformations in its 47-year history. On March 8, 2026, just days after the assassination of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in a devastating joint U.S. Israeli airstrike on February 28, Iran's Assembly of Experts, the 88-member body of senior clerics constitutionally empowered to select the Supreme Leader, announced the appointment of his second son, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, as the new Supreme Leader. This decision, broadcast urgently on state television early Monday morning local time, came amid an escalating full-scale war that has engulfed the region, with missile exchanges, drone swarms, and relentless airstrikes pounding Iranian infrastructure, sending global oil prices soaring beyond $100 a barrel and rattling economies worldwide. This succession marks an unprecedented moment. For the first time since the 1979 Islamic Revolution overthrew the monarchy and rejected hereditary rule, leadership has passed directly from father to son. Critics inside and outside Iran immediately labeled it a dynastic power grab, a betrayal of the revolution's core ideals against kingship and familial entitlement. Yet for the regime's hardline core, it represented continuity, stability, and defiance in the face of existential threats. Mojtaba Khamenei, now 56, steps into the most powerful position in Iran, commanding the armed forces, shaping foreign policy, overseeing the judiciary, and holding veto power over major decisions, at a time when the nation is locked in direct military confrontation with the United States and Israel. To understand the gravity of this shift, we must first revisit the catalyst, the assassination of Ali Khamenei. On February 28, 2026, in the opening hours of what has become known as the 2026 Iran War, a meticulously planned joint operation by U.S. and Israeli forces targeted a secure compound in Tehran, where the Supreme Leader was reportedly convening with top officials. Intelligence gathered over years through hacked traffic cameras, cyber intrusions, human sources inside the regime, and disrupted communication pinpointed his exact location. Israeli jets, supported by U.S. cyber operations that jammed Iranian networks and delayed warnings, unleashed precision strikes. Satellite imagery later showed black smoke rising from the flattened site. Iranian state media confirmed the martyrdom of the 86-year-old leader, declaring 40 days of national mourning while an interim leadership council briefly took charge as per constitutional protocol. The strikes were not isolated. They formed part of a broader campaign targeting high-value regime figures, including senior Revolutionary Guard commanders and security advisors. U.S. President Donald Trump publicly celebrated the operation on Truth Social, calling it a decisive blow against the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. Israeli officials vowed that the campaign would continue until Iran's nuclear ambitions and regional aggression were neutralized. In response, Iran launched waves of missiles and drones at Israeli cities, U.S. bases in the Gulf, and allied infrastructure, escalating the conflict into a multi-front war involving proxies from Lebanon to Yemen. Amid this chaos, the Assembly of Experts convened urgently. Reports indicate intense deliberations under immense pressure from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, the regime's most powerful institution with its vast military, economic, and political empire. Mojtaba Khamenei emerged as the frontrunner almost immediately. His long-standing behind-the-scenes influence within the IRGC, built through years of quiet networking and alignment with hardline factions, proved decisive. On March 8th, the Assembly voted decisively in his favor, with state media announcing the result to a stunned nation and a watchful world. Crowds of loyalists took to the streets in Tehran and other cities, waving Iranian flags and portraits of both father and son, chanting slogans of resistance and unity. Who is this new leader who has stepped from the shadows into the spotlight? Mojtaba Khamenei was born on September 8, 1969, in Mossad, the second son of Ali Khamenei. Unlike his father, who rose through clerical ranks to become a marja, source of emulation, before assuming supreme leadership, Mojtaba holds the title of Ayatollah, but has rarely held public or elected office. He has avoided the media glare, operating instead as a discreet political operator within his father's inner circle. For over 2 decades, rumors have swirled about his ambitions, some calling him the shadow prince of the regime. He cultivated deep ties with the IRGC, conservative clerics, and security apparatuses, reportedly playing key roles in suppressing dissent, managing intelligence networks, and influencing policy from behind the scenes. U.S. sanctions had already targeted him years earlier for alleged involvement in human rights abuses and support for regime crackdowns. His clerical credentials, while solid, fall short of the traditional expectations for a supreme leader, lacking the highest marja status that his father held. Yet in Iran's opaque power structure, formal titles often yield to institutional backing. The IRGC's endorsement, combined with support from hardline factions fearing fragmentation during wartime, outweighed any reservations. Some insiders reportedly worried that naming him so openly could make him an immediate target for further U.S. Israeli strikes, but the need for swift unity prevailed. The timing of this transition could hardly be more fraught. Iran faces an onslaught. Israeli airstrikes have damaged oil facilities, ports, and military sites. Retaliatory Iranian attacks have hit Gulf allies and disrupted shipping lanes. Inflation rages, the real plummets, and public hardship mounts from sanctions and war destruction. In this crucible, the regime prioritized continuity over reform. Mojtaba's appointment signals that hardliners remain firmly in control. No doves or moderates will steer toward compromise. Early indications suggest he will maintain his father's uncompromising posture, bolstering the axis of resistance: Hezbollah, Houthis, Iraqi militias, and others, advancing ballistic missiles and drones, and keeping the IRGC central to governance. As supreme leader, Mojtaba inherits sweeping authority but monumental challenges. He must consolidate loyalty across fractured institutions: the presidency, parliament, clergy, military, while guiding strategy through the fog of war. Economic resilience will demand deepening ties with China and Russia for trade, technology, and bypassing sanctions. Domestically, he faces the task of rallying a population weary from conflict and repression. State media projects unity, but reports of private dissent, chants of death to Mojtaba from Tehran windows, hint at underlying tensions. The international backlash was immediate and fierce. President Trump reacted with fury, declaring Mojtaba's selection unacceptable and insisting that any new leader required U.S. approval to survive. He reiterated demands for Iran's unconditional surrender, warning of escalated pressure, military, economic, or otherwise. Western capitals echoed concerns that this entrenches hardliners, closing doors to diplomacy. Israel vowed to target the new leader if aggression continues. In contrast, China defended the appointment as constitutional and opposed any targeting of Mojtaba, while Russia and allied states offered tacit support. Inside Iran, reactions remain polarized. Regime loyalists and IRGC units have pledged allegiance, with rallies emphasizing defiance. State television shows portraits of father and son side by side, framing the transition as a seamless handoff of revolutionary resolve. Yet opposition voices, muted by fear or censorship, question the dynastic shift, seeing it as the final erosion of revolutionary ideals. The regime has moved aggressively to project strength, military parades, loyalty oaths, and calls for national mobilization. Looking ahead, Mojtaba Khamenei's leadership will define Iran's trajectory in this high-stakes era. Will he escalate to prove resolve, seek tactical pauses under pressure, or adapt pragmatically to survive? The war shows no signs of abating, missiles continue flying, oil markets convulse, and global powers edge closer to broader involvement. His decisions will ripple through energy security, regional stability, and international alliances. This is more than a leadership change. It's a pivotal chapter in modern history. The Islamic Republic, born in revolt against monarchy, now navigates survival under a son's inherited mantle amid unprecedented bombardment. Mojtaba Khamenei, once the quiet operator in the background, now holds the reins of a nation at war. The coming weeks and months will test whether this transition brings fortified resistance or deeper crisis, one fateful choice after another in a conflict reshaping the Middle East and beyond. To reach the requested length for a full voiceover-ready script, let's deepen the analysis and narrative. The assassination itself was a masterclass in long-term intelligence and precision warfare. Israeli Mossad and Unit 8200, collaborating with U.S. agencies, had monitored Khamenei's movements for years. Encrypted footage from hacked cameras, algorithmic pattern analysis of his security detail, and insider tips converged to confirm his presence at the Tehran compound for a critical meeting. When the window opened, dozens of munitions rained down, coordinated with cyber disruptions that blinded Iranian defenses momentarily. The airstrike killed Khamenei and several top aides, gutting command structures in one blow. In the vacuum, the interim council, comprising senior figures, held for days as the assembly deliberated. Pressure from the IRGC was palpable. Any sign of weakness could invite internal challenges or accelerated enemy advances. Mojtaba's selection quelled those fears for hardliners. His profile fits the current needs: loyal to the system, connected to the Guard, untainted by public reformist leanings. Biographically, Mojtaba studied theology in Qom, rising quietly while avoiding the spotlight his brothers sometimes courted. He married into influential clerical families, further embedding himself in elite networks. Allegations of involvement in 2009 post-election crackdowns and later protests have dogged him internationally, leading to sanctions. Yet domestically, his low profile shielded him from direct blame, allowing influence without accountability. Policy-wise, expect continuity with tweaks for wartime. The nuclear program, already a flashpoint, may accelerate under siege mentality. Regional proxies will receive heightened support to stretch adversaries thin. Economically, resistance economy rhetoric will intensify, self-sufficiency drives, barter with allies, crypto or gold workarounds for sanctions. Challenges abound. Public morale waivers, blackouts, shortages, and casualties breed quiet resentment. Hardliners dominate, but technocrats push for pragmatism. Balancing these while commanding loyalty will test Mojtaba's political acumen. Globally, Trump's rhetoric has hardened positions. No talks without capitulation. European allies urge restraint but align against escalation. China and Russia provide diplomatic cover and material aid, seeing Iran as a counterweight. In Tehran streets, life persists amid sirens and blackouts. Loyalists mourn and rally. Dissidents whisper hopes for change. The regime's survival hinges on projecting invincibility. This succession isn't just personnel, it's ideological. It affirms theocracy's endurance, hardline dominance, and rejection of compromise. Whether Mojtaba can steer Iran through the storm, or if pressures fracture the system, remains unfolding history. The world watches breathlessly as one man's rise amid ashes reshapes geopolitics. Mojtaba Khamenei is no longer the shadow. He is the light and the target at the center of the storm.